everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk, and my name is John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be counting down the top 10 films of 2023. So 2023 was actually a pretty good year for film. I wouldn't say it was the greatest year of film, but we definitely got some classics, some films that we'll be revisiting for the rest of our lives, movies we'll be hearing about for the rest of our lives. 2023, I think overall, at the box office was a bit of a down year. We're seeing the shift in film. You know, we had a lot of superhero fatigue this year. Only a couple of them really stuck the landing. We saw the end of the DCEU. So superhero films are really in a state of flux right now. But we also saw some smaller budget films making a lot of money at the box office. The streamers also had some great films come out this year. And just like any top 10 list, this is completely subjective. This is my choice of what I think the best films of the year were. You might disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. I actually want to hear from you guys. What did you think the best films of this year were? Leave those in the comment section below. And without further ado, let's start this off with number 10. And number 10 happens to be John Wick 4, directed again by Chad Stahelski, bringing back Keanu Reeves as the title character of John Wick. And after the end of John Wick Chapter 3, where basically John Wick was left for dead, his good friend Winston shot him off the roof, but luckily Lawrence Fishburne was there to nurse him back to health, and now he's on a revenge path against every single person, whether it be the head of the table, people he thought were his friends, people he thought he could trust. It doesn't matter. Anyone who wronged him, this is it. This is his final stance. And this might actually be the end of the John Wick franchise. And if it is, I think they went out on a high note. This was a fantastic film. I thought this probably was the best action film of 2023, even better than Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which I also thought was a really good film. But after rewatching John Wick Chapter 4, you really have to appreciate the stunt work in this movie. I know a lot of people have been asking for the Academy Awards to add a stunt Oscar, and this is the kind of film that you use an example for that. There are so many great action sequences in this movie, so many great set pieces, whether it be the Continental in Japan, the staircase fight scene, or my personal favorite, the above camera view of watching John Wick go room to room with that shotgun with the dragon bullets, where it's just lighting people on fire right out of a video game. I just loved absolutely every second of this movie. It was just so enjoyable, flies by. For a movie that's this long, it should not be this entertaining throughout. There should be some down periods, but this movie does not have any. I don't think Keanu Reeves is asked to do that much acting at all from a dialogue standpoint. All of his acting comes through in the action sequences, and you can just see the commitment that he has to these scenes. Him and Chad Stahelski have a great working relationship. They've been working together since The Matrix, and it shows on screen. I think this is the second best John Wick film, behind only the first one, and that's mainly because the first John Wick film, we can never replace that surprise feeling of discovering that movie. We expected this movie to be good, and it turned out to be great.
You're gonna see exactly what I see.
Which is what?
The most competitive guy I have ever seen. He is a fucking killer.
And at number 9 is a movie that actually came out earlier in the year that kind of came in wind. I mean, people loved this movie at the time, and I'm talking about Air, directed by Ben Affleck, starring Matt Damon. And this movie tells the story of the Air Jordan. Not really about Michael Jordan, but about the Air Jordan. It's a real rags to riches tale about the Nike division of basketball shoes. Now, I know a lot of people have said since this movie came out, you know, we're glorifying a corporation. Nike already had money, and there was actually a couple of these movies that came out this year. Blackberry is another movie that's very similar to this, that's also very good, that stars Glenn Howerton in a great role, by the way. But I think of these movies, Air was the best of them. We used to get movies like this all the time in the 80s and 90s, and we just stopped getting them. And I know a lot of people might be disappointed by the fact this movie doesn't really include Michael Jordan. You never actually see his face. It's really about the shoe, the Air Jordan, and how it came to be. And you get some great performances in this movie, mainly by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. You also get a great Jason Bateman performance. Now, doing his usual Jason Bateman shtick, but it's so funny, and he actually had some of my biggest laugh out loud moments throughout this movie. Also, the soundtrack. I'm a huge fan of 80s music, and this film is just filled with great 80s songs.
Back there asking where I am, just tell him I'm sick.
You got it. Sick in the head.
Great shots. Like, this movie cost $90 million to make, and for a movie that really takes place in just one setting, where did all that money go? It went into making this movie look and sound as beautiful as possible, and it is an Amazon film, so you can stream this right now. It also had a Blu-ray release. It's definitely one I recommend you check out if you haven't seen it.
Want you to stay.
And at number 8, we get Celine Song's Past Lives. Now, this movie wouldn't have made my top 10 if it wasn't for the ending. This is probably the best ending of the year. I mean, we're building up to it throughout the entire movie, and you're really wondering, how are they going to close out this film? And my God, it really hits you like a ton of bricks. I mean, the tears just hit my face the second. They knew how to end this movie just fantastically. You'll be hearing about this ending for the rest of your life. But the movie leading up to that ending is also a really, really, really good story. It's about two friends who grow up in Korea. One of them ends up moving to Canada and then eventually to New York City. And it's about how their friendship has lasted through this entire time. You know, they lose contact for periods of time, but they always end up rekindling that friendship. And then obviously their lives have to move on from these meetups and, you know, continue their lives. They have very different paths despite the fact that they have this connection from the time that they're children. But unfortunately, their lives just didn't meet up like you would intend them to. And it really is an emotional roller coaster of a film. You can understand every single character's perspective in this film, including Greta Lee's husband in this movie. You know, he doesn't really seem like he fits in with what Greta Lee's character is, but he fits in with her new life here in America. While T.O.'s Hae Sung, you know, that represents her past life in Korea. The relationship that they had will always be special, and she's conflicted. And I mean, this movie really tells this in such a human way, in such a beautiful way. This is actually what I thought A24's best film of the year was, even though they had a great year in film, in my opinion. The Iron Claw really snuck in there and almost made my top 10, but it just missed the cut. It's in that 11 to 15 range. That was a great film, but I really think that A24's best film that they released this year was Past Lives. And again, this movie does have the best ending of 2023. If you haven't seen this one, definitely check it out. And then at number 7, we get The Killer. This one brought back Michael Fassbender, who we haven't really seen in years, although he had 2 films come out this year. He wanted to concentrate on race car driving, if you can believe that one, which I'm a fan of that, but still, I just think Michael Fassbender is one of the most underappreciated actors we've ever had. I thought he gave his career best performance in Danny Boyle's Steve Jobs, but he gives a world-class performance in this David Fincher film. I'm a huge David Fincher fan. I love his style of filmmaking, and this is a very contained Netflix story, and what really stood out to me was the audio design of this film. I really wish I could have saw this in a movie theater. I really wish this eventually ends up on physical media with a great Dolby Atmos track, because it would just be absolutely incredible on disc. Hopefully somebody picks this up. Maybe Netflix can work a deal out with the Criterion Collection again, or maybe possibly Arrow Video. I don't know, but I would just love to hear this sound design on a disc. I just thought it was absolutely incredible. And we're just seeing the story of a hitman, played by Michael Fassbender. At the beginning of this movie, he's talking about his life and what it takes to be a hitman, what it takes to be a killer, what you have to really set yourself up for, how you have to be disciplined mentally, and then he misses the shot. And from that point on, he's got to clean this entire mess up. We get some great sequences in this. We actually have great narration done by Michael Fassbender in this movie, really getting into his head. An incredible scene with him and Tilda Swinton. And because it's a David Fincher movie, that means it looks absolutely gorgeous. You get a great score throughout this entire film. It's lit amazingly. And for me, this is the kind of movie that I just really, really enjoy. I've already watched this movie 3 times. I've just absolutely enjoyed it every single time. It's shot like a modern day David Fincher film, but it also feels like that 90s to early 2000s David Fincher film. You know, he's not going for the Academy Award. He just wanted to tell this story, and I thought he told this story fantastically. Definitely one of the best films of the year. And then at number 6, the only horror movie to make my list, and actually it was a really down year for horror. There weren't too many great films that came out in the horror genre this year. Scream 6 at the beginning of the year was a great movie. Cobweb was another good movie that came out this year. Shudder had some good releases as well, but the one that stood out, that made the top 10 of 2023, and I think is the one that people are going to remember from this year, and that is Talk to Me, directed by Michael and Danny Philippou, who actually had a very successful YouTube channel before this. They're from Australia or New Zealand. I can't exactly remember which one. And they made this film there. And it stars Sophie Wilde in the lead role. And my God, what a star-making performance by her. She is incredible in this movie. A movie dealing with grief and, you know, really dealing with the modern age and how people are today. You know, it's kind of outside of reality, but inside reality. This one embalmed hand is discovered. And everybody knows about it. Like, you know, not everybody, but a good amount of people know about this. It's kind of a party trick where you shake the hand, and on the other side, staring right back at you is a ghost. And these ghosts can all do different things. Some of them are good, some of them are evil, some of them are down for it, having a good time. But if you go over the allowed amount of time, which I think it was either 30 seconds or 2 minutes, I'm not too sure, I can't remember exactly. But whatever the allowed amount of time was, if you went over that, things could get really, really scary. And that's what this movie's about. One of the girl's brothers ends up trying this. He really wasn't supposed to, and he ends up getting essentially possessed by this one ghost. And the rest of the movie is about fixing that problem while also dealing with grief between Sophie Wilde's character and what she's going through and all the stuff that's really straining on her life. And it builds up again to a great ending. Maybe not as good of an ending as Past Lives, but a perfect chef's kiss of an ending. Just a great ending. I really want to see what these two guys do next. I think there was rumors that there is a Talk to Me 2 coming, and I'm down for that, but I think these guys could actually do a lot more in the horror genre. These guys could end up being one of those special filmmakers of our time, and I really am looking forward to seeing what they do next because they really hit a home run with Talk to Me.
I ain't got nothing but regret.
And at number 5 is Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. And this really was high on my list. It started to move down as time has gone on. It didn't stick with me as much as I expected it to. I loved this movie the first time I saw it. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. It's got some world-class performances in it by our 3 leads. Lily Gladstone is one of the front runners for Best Actress this year, and she really does deserve that. She does a great job in this movie, even doing a lot of the acting with her face and her eyes. Just an amazing performance. Robert De Niro, I wouldn't be upset if he got nominated for an Academy Award. He does a great job in this movie as well. And then Leonardo DiCaprio, our lead of this movie. He is fantastic, as he always is. He definitely won't win the Academy Award because the Academy just will not award Leonardo DiCaprio. They gave him 1, and it was honestly for a movie that I don't really love, and I don't think most people love. They really think that Leonardo DiCaprio should have won for one of his more flashier performances.
Hey! Lay your palm flat on that tabletop!
Hey, fellas! Look what I found in my pocket! Look! A year's salary right here!
So it's really disappointing that there was one Academy Award is not for one of his best films, but this performance in here is another fantastic Leonardo DiCaprio performance. You know, he kind of plays a little bit of an idiot in this movie, and it's really showing how the Osage Indians, how they were just taken over by white people and abused and just sucked the life out of them just for money and for greed, and showing like what America was built on was doing stuff like this. And the emotional score in this movie is perfect as well. It's really taking what you think of a Martin Scorsese film and just making it not fun anymore. You think Goodfellas is a lot of fun. It does have that dark ending to it, but for the most part, that movie is just a lot of fun. This movie is dark throughout the movie. Yes, it does have moments of comedy that are actually pretty funny. And again, it's a Martin Scorsese movie, so you know it's shot beautifully. It sounds amazing. It's just a very, 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 very well-made movie. It just didn't stick with me like a lot of other Martin Scorsese movies, but you know what? It's still one of the best films of 2023. And then at number 4 is one that really surprised me, because I didn't love this movie the first time I saw it, but it stuck with me to the point that I had to watch it 2 more times, and I would love to watch it again. I'm looking forward to my next rewatch, and that movie is Bradley Cooper's Maestro. Bradley Cooper plays Leonard Bernstein in this movie, and his wife is played by Carey Mulligan, who does a phenomenal job in this movie, and this movie is really about the acting. The acting just makes this movie stand out in the crowd. Some of the best performances I saw this year. 2 world-class performances, and the actor and actress are bouncing off of each other. I understand why people are disappointed with this movie. You know, we're not really focusing on Leonard Bernstein's career. We even get the big exposition dump in the middle of the movie to let us know what he's done throughout his career, because they really want to concentrate on the relationship between Leonard Bernstein and his wife Felicia. And I think that that's the perfect story to tell. These 2 characters have great chemistry on screen, so you want to see them act off of each other. You also get these big epic moments in this movie involving the score, and you know, we're using a lot of Leonard Bernstein's real music in here, and the shifting aspect ratios, the shifting from black and white to color as the years go on. All that stuff I eat up. I know there was a lot of controversy before this movie came out about Leonard Bernstein's nose on Bradley Cooper, and they felt like, oh man, that's just too cheesy. When you watch the movie, the makeup for this movie easily should win Best Makeup at the Academy Awards. It is some of the best makeup I have ever seen. As he's aging up Bradley Cooper, he does look like Leonard Bernstein. You forget that that's actually Bradley Cooper as you're watching the movie. The only flaw I really have personally with this movie is I do feel like we don't spend enough time in some of these sequences and in some of these years. I feel like they just went a little bit too fast. I thought that this movie is actually one of those movies that would have lent themselves better to a 3-hour film than the 2 hours and 9 minutes that we got. But those 2 hours and 9 minutes that we got are just fantastic. They fly by. They are so entertaining. There's a great joke in this movie about Snoopy that I'm not going to spoil for you guys, but it honestly made me laugh out loud. Didn't see it coming, especially since the great acting that came before that, a huge dramatic moment. It's like they wanted to break the tension with a fantastic joke, and my God, they stuck the landing on that joke. What a great film. Maestro really is one of those movies that just did not disappoint me. I was a little bit disappointed at first, but it's amazing how a movie could stick with you and you just remember those performances and you just want to see them again and again and again, and this was one of those movies. Maestro is a fantastic film. If you haven't seen it because you heard it wasn't that great, I've seen a lot of people saying that. Check it out for yourself. Maybe you'll enjoy it.
You're somebody who needed me. Maybe I'm the one who needed you.
And then at number 3 is a movie that I wanted to really talk about here on the channel, and that is A.V. Rockwell's 8001, starring Teyana Taylor, who I think should win Best Actress at the Academy Awards. As great as Emma Stone is in Poor Things, and I thought that movie was, it's alright. Didn't love that movie, but Emma Stone gives a great performance in it. As great as Lily Gladstone is in Killers of the Flower Moon, Teyana Taylor gives the best performance of 2023. And no one's talking about this movie. It was released at Sundance in January. I think it came to theaters in March, and it just came and went. Right now, you can watch this movie on Amazon Prime, and I think this is one of the most realistic approaches to single motherhood that I have ever seen on film. It takes place in New York City from about 1996 to 2007. Teyana Taylor plays a single mother trying to raise her son. She ends up at the beginning of this movie kidnapping her son from the foster care system because she wants to raise him herself. She changes his name and everything because she wants to actually take care of him, and we're seeing her struggle as the gentrification of New York City takes place, and the transitions of time in this movie are fantastic. I love what they did. That's very unique because we do kind of separate this into 3 segments. We see her to son when he's 6 years old, when he's 13 years old, and then finally when he's 17 years old, and we see how their characters are progressing over time, how Teyana Taylor starts and how she ends this movie, and the very, very, very surprising ending with this movie I thought was fantastic. I could see some people being a little disappointed with it, but I mean, my chest stopped when I saw this ending to this movie, and then it's leading into a perfect scene, just really world-class acting. I've only seen it once, and that's why it's at number 3. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up rising up to number 2 over time, because this is just one of those special movies. If you have the time, it's on Prime Video right now for free. Check this one out. I promise you will not be disappointed. Then come back to the comments section. I just want to talk about this movie with more people. I definitely think this is one of those special movies that I wish more people had seen.
Who do you think you are? Really?
And then at number 2 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This movie came out in the summer, and I knew this movie was going to make my top 10 of the year. I just didn't expect it to be this high up still. This movie was just one of those special movies when it came out. Into the Spider-Verse was a great movie. It won the Academy Award for Best Animated Film. I expect this movie to do the same at this year's Academy Awards. And somehow this movie turned out to be even better than the first movie. I always love a good origin story, and we got the origin story of Miles Morales in the first film. So now we're actually getting to see him be Spider-Man, this New York City's only Spider-Man, and I really love what they did with this story. And for a lot of movies this year, Dead Reckoning Part 1, Fast X, this movie, we saw them end on a cliffhanger, but this one actually at least satisfied me. You know, we knew it was coming. I wasn't disappointed when it ended. I knew that it was going to end this way, but the way they ended, my God, leaves so many questions. Very similar, in my opinion, to The Empire Strikes Back, where we have so many questions that we didn't get answered. Our main characters, you know, this really is The Empire Strikes Back of the Spider-Verse movies. You know, our lead characters are not in the best of positions, and we don't know what the hell is going to happen, but the movie leading up to that was just fantastic. Amazing voice work, but what obviously stands out is the world-class animation. This is the best animated film I have ever seen. It's just amazing what they were able to do with animation. And the Spider-Verse animation is so influential that the new TMNT movie that came out this year, you could see it took so much inspiration from the Spider-Verse movies, but it's going to be really hard to ever hit the highs of these movies. For superhero fatigue going on in the world, and we had a lot of bad superhero movies this year. The only 2 I thought that were actually pretty good were Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I absolutely loved, in my 11 to 20 as well. But Spider-Verse, if this is all we get from superhero films going forward, I would have no problem with that. I love these Spider-Verse movies. I think they do a great job with them. I think they look fantastic. They're well acted. They hit you in the emotions. I just love it. I absolutely love this movie. Definitely check out Spider-Verse if you haven't seen it.
Well, remember this day.
I'll work here.
And then at number 1 is Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer. You get Robert Downey Jr. So many actors, too many to list that pop up in this movie. I saw people comparing it to JFK, and they're not wrong. You're just bringing some big-time actors for like 1 or 2 scenes, like Rami Malek. He gets his one big shining moment. Casey Affleck comes in for his big shining moment. Matt Damon is there for our comic relief, and he does another great job in this movie. He had 2 amazing performances this year. We just don't appreciate Matt Damon enough. He really is one of our national treasures. Just pops up, steals the show, and leaves. He's not asked to do too much in this movie in comparison to what Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. are asked, but he does a great job for what he's given. You know, the only flaw, and I've seen it a lot, is how Florence Pugh and how Emily Blunt are treated in this movie. Emily Blunt does get her big shining scene that the Academy is going to definitely notice, and I love her in this movie. I really do. But I don't think that she should be recognized for Best Actress or even Best Supporting Actress, because I just don't think she had enough to do, and that's not her fault. Emily Blunt is one of our best actresses actresses, but the film doesn't give her enough to do. So even though she gets that big shining moment, I just thought there were better performances throughout the year that, you know, we could award those performances. Emily Blunt, she's a great actress. She'll win plenty more Academy Awards. It's just I don't think that this is the type of movie that she should be awarded for. She does great, but, you know, there's just a lot of other better performances throughout this movie. Yes, Christopher Nolan does have a problem with how, you know, he writes women sometimes in a lot of his films, and Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh are two of those characters. The lead performances, I mean, Cillian Murphy should win the Academy Award. I get it. It's not the most flashy performance, but go watch an interview with the real J. Robert Oppenheimer and look at, like, what he's doing with his eyes and how he's there, but he's not there. You know, his head has just been basically disheveled since he did the Trinity test. Since those bombs were dropped in Japan, his mind has just been feeling so much guilt.
I feel that I have blood on my hands.
And, you know, even if he's not saying it out loud, you could see it in his face, and Cillian Murphy captured that just perfectly. He deserves to win the Academy Award, and I love Bradley Cooper. I thought he was fantastic in Maestro. He gave an incredible world-class performance. I know he's been nominated for so many Academy Awards, and everyone's saying, well, we got to give him his due now. Don't do it this year. Don't do it at the expense of Cillian Murphy. He just gave one of the best performances in film history that I hope they recognize. Just because it's not the most flashy and out there performance doesn't mean that this isn't one of the most special performances. There's a lot more to just being eye-catching. There's just something about playing a character the way the character is supposed to be played and having that actor nail that. And that's exactly what Cillian Murphy did with this. And of course, it's Christopher Nolan, so this movie is shot beautifully, bouncing between IMAX black and white, the first film to ever use that, and regular IMAX, shifting aspect ratios, looks incredible, done practically. They really did that Trinity test. The sound design throughout this entire film is absolutely incredible. It is the best 4K Blu-ray of 2023. We're a physical media channel. Have to say that. Definitely grab that 4K. It's still hard to get. That's how many people love it, how many people love this movie. It is one of the best films that has ever been made. Somehow it's already Christopher Nolan's best film, and a career of great films. To have Oppenheimer come out this year, his first film with Universal, I just thought he nailed it. This is a 10 out of 10 movie. This will be the movie that we remember from 2023. And it came out the same weekend as Barbie. Barbenheimer took the world by storm. I think that weekend of July 21st, one of the greatest weekends in film history. People aren't going to remember, but we didn't just get Barbenheimer. We also got on Netflix, They Cloned Tyrone. That was a fantastic film too that not a lot of people saw. Check that one out as well. But man, Oppenheimer, that is the best film of 2023. And I do have a few honorable mentions here. May December on Netflix right now, the latest film from Todd Haynes starring Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman. I thought that movie was fantastic as well. Charles Melton also gives a great performance in that, and he's getting a lot of award buzz, and it's well deserved, but I really still think, in my opinion, Natalie Portman gives a standout performance in this movie. The Creator, the latest film from Gareth Edwards that stars John David Washington, I thought he did fantastic in this movie. I really thought that John David Washington was kind of on the decline. I didn't think he gave a great performance in Tenet, very generic, but he really gives an emotional performance in this movie. It's very similar to movies like Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves in the sense that, you know, we're taking a person who now has to understand and appreciate the indigenous people instead of it being a white person trying to understand the Native Americans. Now we have a human being trying to understand AI cyborgs. That's what this movie's about. But what you get is Gareth Edwards and his amazing scope. If you love how he can just make things feel huge and big and make his worlds just feel realistic, and for a ton of movies this year that cost almost $300 million to make, this movie cost, I think, $100 million to make, or even less than that. And it still looks just as good, if not better, than most of the big tentpole films we got from studios like Disney and Warner Brothers this year. Really a standout film, a great film, one you should definitely check out. Another one is The Iron Claw. That was another fantastic film that came out this year. Just missed my list. You know, it was just, it's a hard one to recommend just because it's so dark. But man, if you didn't think that Zac Efron could act, he gives a world-class performance. I'm hoping that he sneaks into the Academy Awards in this one because he really does give the standout performance. It really is his movie. Everyone really is there to support his character of Kevin Von Erich, and he just does an amazing job with it. He takes the ball and runs with it. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, that was another great movie. Really enjoyed my time with it when I saw it in theaters and when I saw it at home. It's a great 4K Blu-ray. Just missed my list. And then the last honorable mention is Barbie. I thought Barbie was fantastic when it came out this year in July. Like I said, the same weekend as Oppenheimer. It's kind of fallen down my list a little bit, but I still do think this is one of the best films of 2023. And honestly, when we look back on this year, we'll be looking back mostly on Oppenheimer and Barbie. They were the standout films this year. They really were the ones that took the public consciousness. Margot Robbie gave a great performance. She also helped produce this movie. I've always loved Greta Gerwig's work, whether it be as an actress or as a director. I've loved all three of the films that she's directed so far. Her and her husband Noah Baumbach Baumbach have a great working relationship together, whether it's her starring his films. They like to write their films together. Noah Baumbach and her wrote this film together, and man, they made a great film. So that is going to be my last honorable mention of 2023. But just remember, guys, I want to hear what your favorite films are of 2023. And speaking of that, it's also Friday, and that means it's time for our digital code giveaway. In every single video we do on Friday, I'm going to ask you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. All you have to do is answer one of those in the comment section below, and as long as you do that, you come back to Monday's video, I put your name on a magic wheel, I spin that wheel 2 times. The 2 names it lands on, they have their choice of the digital codes that you've seen on your screen before you today. And these questions this week are very, very simple. We're talking about the best of 2023. I want to hear what your favorite film of 2023 was and what your least favorite film of 2023 was. Don't forget to leave those in the comment section below and then come back to this Monday's video. And if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, and if you could, share this video. And if you would like to take your support of this channel to the next level, we do have channel memberships. We have a Friends of the Channel tier. I appreciate everybody on that tier. We also have the Producers tier, like Nocturnal, Jason Martin, and John Doe Juggalo. And we also have the Directors tier, where you can see Frank Rodriguez right now. If you're on the Directors tier, you have your choice of a review each and every single month. Access to a private chat with me if you would like that. And everybody who's a member on the channel is included in our members giveaway that we try and do every single month here on the channel. But if you guys got no money to throw our way, don't you guys worry about it. We just appreciate you checking out this video, and we hope you enjoyed it. And all we want you guys to do is just get out in those streets and tell your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.